In Genesis 19:26, but Lot's wife looked back and she became a pillar of salt. Whoa. She disobeyed and she became a pillar of salt. Moral of the story, listen to God. Do his will. When he is calling you out and he says, focus on me, you better focus on him because he doesn't play. Hi everyone, my name is Angela and welcome back to my channel where I talk about walking in faith and doing it fabulously. In today's video, we are going to be talking about not looking back. Once we answer God's call, he is calling us out of our bad habits, of our bad friendships, of our bad relationships, that we need to go and not look back. So I am going to pull out my trusty notebook. I actually design and sell notebooks on Amazon, and this is one of my personal favorites. This is my dream journal. It is like a vision board essentially. Obviously you can tell it's like a lot of luxury, and I think one thing that we have to realize as children of God, as princes and princesses, is that we are called to a life of abundance, whatever that means for us. So I want the finer things in life. I want abundance, I want luxury. And one common misconception, especially in modern society, is I feel that a lot of people think that you can't want these things and still love God, because it's so common that people idolize these things. People idolize money, people idolize these luxury brands, these luxury labels, people idolize things and make them like gods, and that's where the downfall is. But in reality, we can want the finer things in life and still keep God at our core, at the center of our life. As long as he stays number one, he has no problem with blessing us with all these things. It's when these things become number one that it's a problem. So it's just a very aesthetic little vision board journal. This is a paperback. It easily slides in a kind of work bag and you can take it with you. I also can make custom vision board journals for you guys. If that's something that you're interested in, comment custom journal down below so that I know that's something that you'd be interested in. Or if you love this one, you can find it. I will link it in the description box. I will also link my journal for Jesus, which is a hardcover journal that I created. It's more of a journal. This is a little bit more of a notebook. That one's more intended to be a journal, where it has religious images on every 10th page and like little Bible verses throughout. It's very cute and I love it for my daily journaling and my daily prayers. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, you will also find that linked down below. So let's go ahead and open this because there are a couple things that I wrote down that I wanted to read off to you guys. So if you know the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, or if you don't, I will sum it up very quickly. Sodom and Gomorrah were two cities where the people were just living horrible lives of sin. They were not turning back to God. They were not repenting. They were just treacherously sinful people. And God decided he was going to destroy the city. So before he destroyed it, he called Lot and his wife and his family to leave Sodom and Gomorrah. Basically, he was saving them from the destruction of the city because these people were God-fearing, they were righteous, and God wanted to save them because he found them to be the only people in those cities that were good people, basically. So he called them out of the city, and on their way out, the one thing that God commanded them was do not turn back. So go where I'm telling you to go and don't look back. It's basically God's command to them because he's saving them. In Genesis 19:26, but Lot's wife looked back and she became a pillar of salt. Whoa. She disobeyed and she became a pillar of salt. Moral of the story, listen to God. Do his will. When he is calling you out and he says, focus on me, you better focus on him because he doesn't play. And again, in Luke 17:31, it says, remember Lot's wife. So it was mentioned again as a reminder. Don't look back. Focus on your faith. Focus on God. Focus on what you're supposed to be doing. Do not look back on the old. Do not look back on sin. Do not look back on temptations or evil. So there's three different theories kind of and ideas as to why she was turned into a pillar of salt. One being, of course, she disobeyed the angel's command. She disobeyed the command that God gave them to not look back. And look where that got her, right? Take it as a lesson. 2, she valued her belongings and lifestyle more than God. So there's an example of prioritizing stuff over God. Because of course her home was still in Sodom and Gomorrah. I'm sure there was some belongings that she wasn't able to bring with her that were left behind, that she prioritized looking back versus looking forward. Okay, this is what God has told me to do. 3 could be that she identified too much with the city of Sodom and Gomorrah. So obviously we're all sinners, and likewise she was, and in a way she might have kind of related. She might have identified with the sinfulness of the city to the point where she looked back. So there's just a couple ideas as to why that might have happened. Obviously God did what God did. Hopefully none of us turn into a pillar of salt, but we can use it as an example that do what God wants you to do and do not look back from what he has saved you from. So the reason it was mentioned again in Luke was as a warning about the return of the Son of Man, and to remember not to waver at that time. Do not be caught unprepared. Everything in this world is temporary. So basically, do not focus on the things of this world. Do not idolize the things of this world. Focus on God and his call. If God has called you out of a life of sin, do not look back on it and keep going where you're going. If you are still kind of living in sin and you just kind of feel this call, that you're called to more, to better, being called out of your life of sin or negativity or whatever it might be, how do you identify what you're being called away from? Well, obviously, if it goes against God's will and your core values as a person, you are probably being called away from it. And that can be habits, relationships, friendships. If you are hanging out with people that are constantly just bringing you down, making you feel insufficient, being negative, maybe they're encouraging really bad habits, they're encouraging things that you're trying to get away from, they're encouraging sin, they're leading you into sin, then you are being called to leave those situations, to kind of separate yourself from those friendships, relationships, and habits. Obviously, we kind of are self-aware usually of the bad habits that we have if we're living lustful lives, if we're constantly just, yourself what bad habits you have. Maybe it's procrastination, laziness, just anything that's negative is something that you're being called away from, because God is all positive. God is positivity, he is light, he is all things good. So anything that is not, everything that is the opposite of God is something that you're being called out of. So if people are trying to encourage you to sin, if they're kind of pressuring you to do things that you might not really want to do anymore, those are not your people. They might not be bad people in general, but they're not your people. And they can go hang out with their kind. And obviously, you can try to bring them up, talk to them, kind of tell them what's going on. I don't want to talk about this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. I want to turn my life around. Sometimes they might get on board and say, you know what, I want to do the same, which is awesome. And then you're kind of can grow along the way. But oftentimes, these friends, these relationships, these people are going to look at you and be like, okay, well, you do you. And they're going to want to stay right where they are at. And one thing you have to remember is do not dim your light to match everybody else. Just because their light is off, some people want to live in darkness. Do not turn your light off just because everybody else has their light off. Do not dim your light to satisfy those other people, okay? Because there are people who crave your light, who want your light, who want to see you win, who want to support you, who want to talk positivity, who want to help you in your growth, in your journey, who want to help you to stay away from bad habits, so sins. So if people are not doing that for you, you need to cut them off, or at least limit your contact with them. I'm not saying go and cut everybody off. There are people who are going to have issues, certain negative elements that are going on that they might just want your help and advice with. Maybe they're going through mental health issues. You can be there for those people, right? I'm not saying cut off your friends that are depressed. Absolutely not. They need friends. They need you. I'm talking about the people who habitually are just negative people who don't want to change, who don't want to grow. They want to stay where they are. Those people that want to stay where they are, that are only bringing you down and you can't seem to bring them up, those are the kind of people that you have to cut off or at least limit. You can still check in here and there, you can still shoot a text, ask them how they're doing, but you have to know your limit as to when to just cut them off entirely or heavily limit your contact. Sometimes, right when we are breaking free of those things, those habits, those people, is when they are going to try their hardest to pull you back. It's the same way as when you're trying to diet, you're trying to eat healthier, and all of a sudden those desserts just look extra good. Those desserts just look extra tempting and you really want it more so than if you weren't on a diet, right? Because right when you are trying to do better for yourself is when those bad things are going to pull at you even more. And that's normal because we have to remember that at the end of the day, the evil one, the enemy, wants you to stay down here. He wants you to be unhealthy, to entertain negative relationships, to entertain toxic relationships, to be negative and be dark and be miserable. He doesn't want you to grow. He doesn't want you to succeed. He doesn't want you to start following God. He doesn't want you to get closer to God. He wants you to stay right here. So when you break free, you're going to get more pull. You have to stay strong. You have to set boundaries and you have to stand on them. And that's not easy because these people are going to beg you more than they've ever begged you before. These bad habits are going to be calling your name more than they did before because you're trying to pull away from it. So you have to set a boundary and stand firm on it because that is the first step in building trust with yourself. You have to be able to trust yourself in your word. If you say something that you're going to do something, that you're going to stand on something, that you are going to, stay away from these things, you have to respect yourself enough to be able to stand on that boundary and to maintain that boundary. You don't want to create trust issues with yourself. Now, we are human, and with all these people begging us to come back and all these bad habits tempting us, we may fall because we are of a fallen nature. However, that does not mean that we are going to self-wallow. Now, this is something I'm talking to myself as much as I'm talking to you guys. I sometimes will fall back into temptation or into a bad habit, and I will self-wallow. I will beat myself up. I will feel like garbage. And honestly, that just keeps me there. It keeps me in that place. No, if you fall, if you go back to the bad habit, the person, the people, instead of self-wallowing, beating yourself up, and making it harder for yourself to stand back up and reset those boundaries, you need to get in the mindset, okay, this is a lesson. It's a lesson. Because oftentimes when you're trying to break away, you realize that that's not for you, you go back to it, you actually get a dosage of a reminder of exactly why you don't want to entertain it anymore. It serves as a reminder. You go and you do that thing and you're like, oh, so that's why I want to break away from it. That's why I stopped entertaining you. That's why I don't hang out with you anymore. That's why I don't do that anymore. Even if in the moment it's instant gratification, you will realize in the long run it actually is detrimental to your health. And you'll realize that you don't really feel all that great after doing it. So instead of beating yourself up, take it as a lesson. Take the lesson. L is for lesson, not for loss. And grow from it. Rebuild those boundaries. It actually strengthens them because now you have that reminder, okay, I really don't want to do that anymore. Reset that boundary and it makes it even stronger so that you stand on it and you're less likely to fall more in the future. Now, another thing that you have to remember is you become who you surround yourself with. So all of these people, these negative habits, these negative things are impacting you, even if it's subconsciously. If you are in a friend group of 5 people that are always complaining about how awful their life is and all the money problems that they have and all the relationship problems that they have, you are bound to be the 6th person with all of the same problems because subconsciously over time you become like the people you surround yourself with, and you might not even notice it until you sit back and you're like, oh, I never felt like this before. I never had this thought process before. So you want to surround yourself with positivity, with people who are going to support you, uplift you, help you on your journey, bring you closer to God. You want to be in a positive environment, positive relationships, positive habits, positive friends. Now, between this group and this group, there is a gap. And oftentimes in this gap, we are called to solitude. And this is where a lot of people kind of lose it because we are social beings. We're meant to talk to people and interact. And so an era of solitude really, like, even the idea of it irks some people. They're like, oh my gosh, like I can't be alone. And that also is something that pulls people back to the negative because, okay, well, I would rather hang out with somebody than be alone. No. You are not actually in an era of solitude. When you are in between, and this is kind of where I'm at in my life, waiting for my circle, my group of people, but I haven't quite found them yet. I'm in this in between. You're not alone. You are being called to have God as your number one best friend. And also, in this era of solitude, where in reality you just have God as your number one best friend, you are also called to self-development, because if you think about it, there is a gap between this group and this group, where they are not the same. And you cannot be the same person that you were in this group. You have to grow and become that person that is going to fit in over here. The kind of person that is going to attract these positive, uplifting individuals that are going to help you grow and talk about growing in life, good things. You have to be that kind of person, because you can't be the same person over here as you are over here. Like, you can't be the same person. You have to grow, because you can't be the negative Nancy in the positive group. So in that era of solitude where you haven't found your group yet, but you've cut people off, focus on God and focus on your personal growth. And in this journey of personal growth, build new habits. So you have to write down and identify everything that you need to change, everything that can be done better, certain habits that need to be cut off entirely. I want you to make a list of everything that you feel like you can do better that will be aligned with your goals. For example, if your goal is to eat healthier, instead of having that cupcake for dessert, maybe have a tiny piece of dark chocolate. Still satisfies the craving, but it is a better alternative. If you find yourself scrolling aimlessly on your phone or watching garbage shows on Netflix, ask yourself, what could I be doing right now that would be getting me closer to my goals, getting me closer to my dreams? Because at the end of the day, are you living your dream life to be wasting time? In reality, even when we are living our dream life, we should still not be wasting time. This thought popped in my head, little snippet, quick break. I had this idea that came to me the other day. You do not want to be in a position where you are before God and you are asking Him for more time to do this, more time to do that, more time to achieve this. You don't want to be in a situation where you have to ask Him for more time and He says, I gave you time and you wasted it. You don't want to have that kind of situation. You do not want to waste time. So figure out all of the habits that you need to change. Ask yourself what you could be doing differently, even if it's something so small. Instead of scrolling on your phone and watching Netflix, get up and go on a hot girl walk. Get up and drive yourself to your local gym and do some quick cardio, some stretches, some workouts. Exchange those bad habits for something positive, even if it's on a minute level, to help you grow and to help you break free so that by the time that you're growing, you can attract those people. You might meet some of those people in the gym, you never know. And last but not least, go at your own pace. Stop comparing yourself to everyone else. It's something that's so easy to do, especially in modern day with social media, TV, etc., etc. It's so easy to compare yourself to everyone else and say, well, look at her, she's already doing so good. She's already doing what I would do. Maybe I don't really need to do it at all. No. If you are being called, then there is space for you. You are one of one. You have your own thing to bring to the table. You have your own thing to contribute to this world. You're here for a reason, and you can do what you are supposed to do. So go at your own pace, but be consistent. Be disciplined. It's not easy. It's not easy breaking out of old habits. It's not easy cutting people off. It's not easy setting boundaries and maintaining them. None of it is easy. Go at your own pace. If you fall, take it as a lesson, but stay consistent. Stop comparing yourself, because comparison is one thing that is detrimental. We think that other people are better than us, they're doing better than us, oh, I'm not going to do it at all. No, go at your own pace, but make sure you're going. Don't revert back. Don't be stagnant. Make sure you are going. Do not stress about it and pray. Ask God and He will help you through it all. I hope this inspired you guys and helped you. If it has, please hit the like button, subscribe, and you can hit the notification bell so that you never miss a video. And again, you can comment down below custom journal if you're interested in the custom journal. The link will be down below for everything else. And if there is any topic that you want me to talk about, you can also leave a comment down below. I greatly appreciate any kind of inspiration. Thank you. I love you guys.